Every time we come in contact with Dr. Champion, he asks, "What are you doing to close the gap?" This gap he speaks of is the discrepancy in the academic performance between the EcoDis kids and the kids who do not qualify as EcoDis. What does economically disadvantaged mean? Why should we care so much about a special group of kids? We teach every student in our class, so why do some kids get it and some don't? And the most important question I want you to think about as you view this: what are you already doing that helps to close this gap? Here are those same questions again. Use this movie to reflect. Here you see the 2011 Federal Poverty Guidelines. These guidelines are used to determine who is on free and reduced lunch in our schools. You can see that a family of 4 would have to be under the threshold of $22,350 for an annual income in order to qualify for free and reduced lunch. This is indeed poverty if you think about how much rent costs, gasoline, food, and clothing. Here you see our district numbers for economically disadvantaged students from 2006 to 2011. What do you notice about the trends? And what stands out or surprises you? Programs like free and reduced lunch, free immunizations, and Medicaid seem to address some of the foundation physical needs. And we know that students are more likely to focus on schoolwork when their non-academic needs have been met, but this doesn't always happen. Children in poverty are 50% more likely to experience physical neglect and 80% more likely to report sexual abuse. Children in poverty are exposed to more intense and longer-lasting stressors and have fewer coping skills than children not in poverty. All adolescents have difficulty making good decisions to begin with. So add on this distress, and these students in poverty are simply reacting to life, mostly unable to focus and concentrate. They have little to no creativity, memory is impaired, and processing is almost nil. So if the next level up on Maslow's hierarchy is the need for being loved, belonging, and inclusion, consider your classroom environment. Students these days are the most socially connected group of people in our history, yet we still make them sit at desks and listen to some adult rattle on about a topic. How much do you expect students to get out of your lecture? How do you break up your lecture so that students have time to talk, write, and draw in order to process what it is you're talking about? Continue to think about your classroom environment. Is your classroom environment a cooperative one or a competitive one? What ways do you purposefully group and regroup students for content conversations, cooperative work, or even for a visual student to relax and observe a procedure? Describe how your classroom might be an extended family to students who have the need to belong and be included. How do you look for students' strengths? And how do you use those strengths to promote higher self-esteem? And what steps do you take to ensure the curriculum, the what, is relevant to all students? What measures do you take to ensure students of poverty understand the learning target? Because remember that they have very few prior life experiences to connect this new information to. And I ask again, what steps do you take to ensure the curriculum, the what, is relevant to all students? And the question on the slide here, how do you teach kids who do not have rich life experiences the complex, abstract concepts we have in the TEKS in a manner that's going to benefit a wide range of students? Talked a lot about differentiation. How do you differentiate by learning style? Give some examples. Do you sometimes group by ability so that you may work with students who didn't get it the first time around? Describe some ways that you empower students by giving them choice in showing you how they know the learning target. Goal setting influences motivation. Every student, being an individual, is going to have their own twist on goals that they need to set. We all need them. But teaching kids in poverty how to set goals can be challenging because there's a lot of scaffolding that needs to be in place before we can get them to the place that we want them to be. How can you help students to set goals that are attainable? When we attain a goal, the result is increased self-satisfaction, greater self-efficacy, and higher standards for future performances. Every student must reach the goals set forth in the TEKS. So how do you communicate high expectations to all students? Did you know that your Texas gradebook can let you know any of the labels that any kid has? Check out the next slide. I've made a jing to show you how you can use Texas gradebook to look at any of the programs that kids are into. Texas gradebook has a feature that will let you see all of your students and the programs that they're in. You simply log into the gradebook, go to the Reports tab, then scroll down to Special Programs. Once you've clicked on Special Programs, you have two options. You can see your students by section, or you can see all the students you teach and then all the programs they're in. Whichever the case you use here, the next step is to click Generate, and this will get you your report. Here you see all the students by section. You can see if they're GT, Title I, and the ones we're looking for are economically disadvantaged. So now you know how to find this information. What are you going to do with this information? So I want to leave you with a final thought. Do you know what these people have in common? Celine Dion is one of the highest grossing female entertainers and the 5th richest female entertainer. But she grew up in a poor rural family in Quebec where she was the 14th child. Her father made $160 a week to support the family of 16. Jay-Z, a music mogul that began as a rapper and went on to become involved in everything from nightclubs and clothing to being part owner of the New Jersey Nets. He's worth over $150 million. But he grew up in the Brooklyn Marcy housing projects and was raised only by his mother. He was involved in crime while he grew up. At 12, he shot his brother in the arm for stealing his jewelry. Oprah, most powerful media mogul in the world, she's worth over $2.9 billion, but she was born into poverty and wore potato sacks for clothes. She lived in a disruptive and abusive home, but with discipline and a supportive school, she became an honor student and went on to complete college and become who she is today. J.K. Rowling had beginnings much like Oprah. She suffered from depression, the loss of her mother, and lived on welfare. But while on welfare, she began her writing career, which is now a $15 billion industry, and she's worth $843 million. All these famous people are no different than the students that we see in our classrooms, but they were given hope and a growth mindset at some point in their lives that helped them change into becoming what they are today. So again, I ask you, what are you doing to close the gap? Thanks, y'all, for considering these issues of economically disadvantaged kids and for reflecting on what you're doing to help these kiddos. I've asked a lot of questions, hopefully made you think a little bit more about what you're doing. We want to use the next vertical meetings to discuss these questions, these issues, which will be a very rich discussion. We'll start with Cedar Park on November 8th, Henry November 9th, Canyon Ridge the 10th, 4 Points the 11th, and then the next week, November 15th, Running Brushy, the 16th, Leander, and the 17th, Wiley, all at 8 a.m. So looking forward to seeing you guys in the next 2 weeks.